everybody, I'm Jim and this is Chris, and today we want to talk to you about our 2 weeks in northern Vietnam and the costs that were associated with that.
We get a lot of people asking us, how much did it cost and what did it look like and what could you do in 2 weeks? It's a big country, and we're going to give you some tips and some idea of what the breakdown on cost was for 14 days in northern Vietnam.
Now, 14 days is definitely not enough time to see the whole country, and this is why we're just talking about northern Vietnam. We flew into Hanoi all the way from Canada, and we've been there before, so this is our second time in northern Vietnam. So we have a really good idea of suggestions of what you can do during a 2-week travel stay in Vietnam.
So some of the things in Vietnam we've already done. So we're going to include on this video some things that we wanted more time to do and more things that we wanted to see. So we're going to break it down to how many days we spent in each area, what we did, what the cost of our accommodations, transportation, food, and etc. are, and what our total cost was for 2 weeks. And this time we wanted to sort of break it down because not everybody has the opportunity to travel for months at a time. We're going to speak about Hanoi, the big city where we arrived. We're going to talk about Tam Coc Ninh Binh area as well as Sapa and our experiences there and what the breakdown on cost was.
We have made videos on each of these cities and each of our experiences in all of the places that we have visited. So make sure you check out our other Vietnam videos because they will really break down in detail our whole trip. So the first cost that we want to talk about is the visa to get into the country. Now, we have that information on our other video, but it was around $35 US each to apply for a visa, and that is a 30-day visa, and we did it online.
Very easy process. Just go to the government site and search that, and it took about 3 days for us to get that back via email, and you did need it to arrive.
We will have that link down below in the description, so make sure you check that out.
The next category that we'd like to talk about is our accommodations. So we spent a total of 14 nights in different areas. We spent 4 nights in Hanoi, 4 nights in Tam Coc, 4 nights in Sapa, and we returned to Hanoi for 2 nights prior to flying back out of Vietnam. The entire cost worked out to be about 379 Canadian dollars for 14 nights, averaged about 27 Canadian per night, and some of them included breakfast. In fact, most of them included breakfast in Vietnam. So that was, we felt, very good value for a country to travel and stay in accommodations. Now, we're not your typical
five-star hotel.
Five-star hotel. We're not staying in hostels, and we're not staying in the cheapest places we can find, but we're certainly staying in places that were wonderful, clean, had the amenities. And the biggest thing for us when we book accommodations are mostly location.
We always try to pick the location that's closest to, you know, the main tourist spots or the old town or anything that we could easily walk around, because let's face it, we don't want to spend our whole time jumping in a cab or jumping on trains or anything
Getting
like that.
from one place to the next. I mean, your time is your time, so it's important. So location, we think, is probably one of the most important things when booking a hotel. So the next category that we want to talk about is transportation. So we used a number of different methods, and we have sort of compacted it into one overall cost. Our total cost was $170 Canadian. Now that included our Grab rides. It also included some sleeper buses, some local buses, and also the other mode of transportation that we used quite a bit was when we were in the more rural areas, we would rent motorbikes. So overall, 170 Canadian we felt was very good value.
So once we arrived in Hanoi, we took a Grab taxi from the airport to the old quarter where we stayed. Now, Grab taxi is an equivalent of Uber. It's an app that you should download if you're visiting Southeast Asia, so make sure you have that. And then once we stayed in Hanoi for a few days, we took a van basically down to Tam Coc area, and that's where we stayed for another 4 nights. And while we were in Tam Coc, we rented a motorbike. Now, It was very easy to go around on a scooter
We felt safe.
Yeah, felt safe, but it was easy to get around. The roads were great, excellent to get around Tamcock area and to see all the sights.
It also gave us the freedom to tour around at our own leisure. There are lots of tour companies, if you don't feel comfortable with renting a motorbike, that you can hire, or drivers that will take you from one place to another for a very reasonable cost as well. We do have international driver's license for the motorbike, so we personally, that's our favorite mode of transportation in the small areas. I don't think I'd recommend renting a bike in Hanoi. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, so a scooter in Hanoi, because of the amount of traffic, would be pretty crazy. Now, after we finished our time in Tamcock, we took a sleeper bus up to Sapa, and Sapa is in the north, it's in the mountains, it's close to the Chinese border. That trip was supposed to take us 6 hours. I think it took us closer to 12 hours, and you should really check out our nightmare sleeper bus
Yes.
video on that.
So the one thing that we did learn booking these buses from one area to another area is you really do get what you pay for. We did leave it to the last minute and booked and ended up on a bus that was probably maybe not so much our style, but at least we got there. It took longer than planned, as Jim explained. Our video that you can watch will also explain that. But at least we learned what it was like to travel on a more local transportation bus.
For sure. Now,
For sure.
Sapa is a very walkable city, so that wasn't really a problem of where we stayed. We stayed pretty central in the Sapa area, but we also rented a motorbike because we wanted to see the outlying areas. We wanted to go to the waterfalls. We wanted to see some of the villages. So that was another scooter cost.
So the next mode of transportation that we took was from Sapa all the way back down to Hanoi. There was a couple of options. There were VIP buses that were the mini buses. There was a train there as well, which I think was a little bit slower. We ended up this time deciding to book the VIP sleeper bus. And it took about approximately 6 hours. This one was right on time and right on point. Took us right back down to the old quarter, right to our hotel. So.
And again, our total transportation cost was $170 Canadian.
For the entire 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that's going right from the airport in Hanoi all the way down to Tamcock and Sapa and back to Hanoi. So very reasonable price there.
Overall, for 2 weeks, I felt like $170 was quite good value for the distance that we traveled.
And that VIP bus was literally $8 a piece more.
Every penny.
$8 a
every
piece
penny.
more than
Yes.
than the nightmare bus that we had. So that is it for our transportation costs.
So the next item that we'll talk about are our SIM cards for our cell phones. So what we've been doing every time we arrive to a new country is we go and pick up a new SIM card and pick up a data plan. This time it cost us $30 Canadian for 2 SIM cards for both Jim and myself. It was a quick, easy process. We do explain it in our previous videos, and it enabled us to have data for our maps, our Grab, and also for researching places to find things to do or transportation as well, or even good restaurants if you want to find a good place to eat.
So the SIM card we used in Vietnam was from Viettel. It was $30 for the whole month, but that did provide 6 gigabytes of data per day, so we were never without data while we were traveling throughout the country.
Now,
So-
we only needed 14 days worth of coverage because that's how long we were there, but it actually was cheaper for us to just get the whole 30 days, so that's exactly what we did. So the next category that we're going to talk about is food. I guess everybody's favorite topic, and of course in Vietnam the food is amazing. So it was 340 Canadian dollars for the entire 2 weeks. Now, we did a mix of street foods, nice restaurants, snacks, tried new things, and so $340. We didn't do any of our own cooking just because it was cheaper to actually eat out there. We did pick up some local fruits and things to have in the fridge in the room at times, or a lot of times we were
For breakfast.
For breakfast was included in a lot of places too, but $340 for 2 weeks, and we ate very well.
Now I do want to say this. A lot of people are scared to try the street foods in different countries, and they always ask us, did you get sick? We didn't get sick once.
Not once.
We're pretty adventurous on what we eat. We're not afraid to eat street food. 99.9% of the time, the food is cooked directly in front of you. So
Very fresh.
when you're ordering a Vietnamese spring roll, it's being made in front of you. It's everything.
Excellent. Like it was.
Yeah, like we really have no issue eating street food, and you have to understand that you're in a different country. This is how the locals are eating. We always try to pick the places that are lined up with locals.
They're busy. The food is cooked fresh or prepared in front of you.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, Jim has a super sensitive stomach, and not once did we have any problems.
No, like I said, go where the locals are eating. It's fantastic.
Be adventurous. It's worth it.
Our next category we want to talk about is entertainment. Now, we did a number of great things while we were on these 3 different cities that we toured around for the 2 weeks. So while we were in Hanoi, we did a food tour.
So much fun.
We will link the food tour below because it was fantastic. It was a lot of fun. We even have a video on that. But that food tour was $80 Canadian for the both of us. It lasted about 4 hours, 4.5 hours. We could not eat another
I don't
bite.
think we ate again until 3 o'clock the next day. It was a lot of food.
We were pretty adventurous on that as well.
Yeah.
Now, in Tamcock, they're very famous for seeing the Marble Mountains through the boat tours down the river. It's like a Halong Bay inland. Now, Halong Bay is on the coast. We didn't do that this time because we've done it before, and it is a more expensive part of a tour. So this time we opted for Tamcock.
So for the entire cost of 2 weeks, it was $175 Canadian. And what's included in this category was a day-long food tour that we did in Hanoi, 2 boat tours when we were in the Ninh Binh area, some entrances to waterfalls, some entrances to some temples, and touring around a Cat Bat village when we were up in Sapa as well. Cat. Anyway, so our total cost for entertainment was $175 Canadian for 2 weeks.
So the next category we want to talk about is some miscellaneous costs, and this includes, just some daily
Snacks from the store, water,
personal stuff like deodorants and shampoos and
things
everything
that
like
you
that.
need.
But we also had a couple massages as well. So the total cost of massages, I think we spent $24 on massages, and then the rest of the incidentals came out to $120 Canadian. So one of the fixed costs that we also have is health insurance. Now, we purchased a full year health insurance plan from back home in Canada through just a local insurance company. Now, that worked out to about $75
For 2 weeks?
for 2 weeks for the both of us.
It's $150 for a month, but for the 2 weeks that we were in Vietnam, it works out to $75 for both of us.
So there are other healthcare options such as Safety Wing. Safety Wing is a very popular one amongst travelers. We'll link the description below for Safety Wing because I think that's the next one that we will be purchasing is more of a digital nomad type of traveling package, and Safety Wing has a great package for that.
Now keep in mind, we purchased for the entire year because we knew this year we would be traveling on and off most of the year. It just made more sense, and it was a much better cost benefit to us to purchase the entire year. So all in all, for our 2 weeks in northern Vietnam, our cost was $1,138 Canadian for 2 of us. And that talks about all the things we just explained, the transportation, the accommodations, the incidentals, the entertainment. So without including our flights, that was pretty good value, just under $600 Canadian each for 2 weeks. Now we didn't skimp out on too much. Some of the things we had done before, so we didn't do. We also tried to do a lot of the free things that were offered there as well, but if you can get your flights at a good price from whatever country you're coming from, you could definitely go and travel for 2 weeks for under $1,200.
For sure, and that included our beer, that included some wine and everything like that. So it's not like we didn't go without.
We certainly didn't go without, and we did eat out very nicely and experience some wonderful adventures. Highly recommend it. Not everybody has months at a time to go, but if you have 2 weeks, you could probably do it for under $1,200 Canadian.
For sure, and we highly recommend that you visit northern Vietnam because it is
spectacular.
Just
We-
one of our favorite places.
Yeah,
that
and
we-
the funny thing is we've been there a couple times now, and we still feel like we'd like to return. We have other things that we'd like to see, so maybe coming up in the future, we will have some other videos showing some more experiences in Vietnam. So we just want to say thanks again so much for watching and following our channel. We hope that you found this information useful. If you liked our channel, please give us a thumbs up or subscribe if you haven't already, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks again.